La noche se acabó, pero tengo otra vez contigo. Le doy gracias a Dios, siempre pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama, solo tú y yo. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Siempre lo pasamos bien lindo, lindo. Un verano contigo lindo, lindo. Me fui de vacaciones, baby, me perdí, buscando el sabor que encontré en ti. Canela con dolor de Bacardi, lo sentí. Baby, me tiene desenfocado, viendo doble, bien borracho, demasiado jodido. Contigo, pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama. Tú y yo, un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito, bonito, un día bonito, bonito. Pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama, solo tú y yo. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone? Happy Friday in the UK, anyway. I think it's still Thursday in the US. Did you miss me? Because I missed you. Oh, sorry, by the way, guys. Have I actually mentioned that I am like working part-time? I don't know if I've actually mentioned that. I'm sorry. I think I did. Because somebody commented on the community tab on the last post that I did, like, oh, Anne, are you leaving? I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm still around, guys. It's just life is very different for me since I came back from my travels. Life is lifing. And so I had kind of like jumped into the deep end and, you know, decided to take my content creation like full time. But coming back to London, I decided to step back a little bit from that. So I'm still doing the podcast as much as I can, but obviously because I work part-time now and I'm also still trying to write, it does take me away. But I'm, just in case anybody was wondering, like, no, the podcast is not ending. I'm still very much here. Maybe just not as much as I would be before, just in case anybody was confused. There is a lot to talk about today because I've been away for a few days. It's 9:37 in New Jersey. Shout out to New Jersey. Allowing others to shine. Are you new here? I feel like I haven't seen your name. Welcome, Valerie. 237 in the UK. I love that you're awake. I love that you're awake, Valerie. By the way, I actually just saw Superman, so I'm coming back late from the theater, and I still had energy, and I was like, I have not done a podcast in a few days. I need to get a podcast done today. Superman movie is incredible. By the way, very timely message. They've gone back to like traditional, colorful comic book strip Superman with these, kind of laugh out loud villains, Lex Luthor. So I think if you're a traditional DC fan, you're gonna love it. I saw this. That reminded me of the Superman movie today. Oh, and I saw this other meme. The greatest reacher skill you can have is being a nosy bish who wants to find out. That's me. I feel like that's me as a royal reporter. Lottie, now the UK is begging for Harry and Meghan to come back. That can't be true. Do you know what? I thought that something was very, very strange about the whole meeting. The so-called secret meeting that was leaked. Not so secret, is it? Oh. Oh, Rhonda, your rosé arrived today. Drinking my first glass now and I like it. Yeah, please tell us, what are the notes like? I heard there's a little bit of fruitiness in there, that Californian sun. Describe in your own words how you think it is. Yes, thank you, Tamiko. Thank you for reminding everyone to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Valerie, you're doing some knitting at 2:40 in the morning. Good for you. Okay, let's get to it because there's a lot to speak about. I don't even did I even speak about the meeting in detail? Okay, let me just mention this now because I'm not even sure that I have the slide for it, but this so-called secret meeting that happened, I think, and this is just my theory on this, I think that it was likely just part of routine talks. Harry is still a royal, Meghan is still a royal, albeit they're not working royals and there has been a family breakdown. There are still always going to be discussions that need to be had. Harry still has charities here. The Invictus Games is going to be in Birmingham. We have 2 members of the royal family that are supposedly ill. One of them obviously being Charles, and there's a lot of questions about his health. Some people believe that maybe that was part of the conversation. Regardless of what conversation happened, the pictures of Harry's, communications person and the palace's communications person should never have leaked. They were leaked by the Daily Fail. Remember that Charles and Camilla, they hired a former editor of the Daily Fail who's currently working in the palace. So I think they leaked those photos to try and spin this narrative of reconciliation. They're doing the very same thing that Harry said that he's not going to engage in. He's not going to engage in this ridiculous back and forth with his family and the media. If they want reconciliation, the conversation needs to happen between the family members. And Harry needs to get his security and his wife needs to get an apology. All of this ridiculous talk about reconciliation when what it is that Harry has asked for, those demands aren't being met. But we're still seeing all of these ridiculous, leaking and back and forths in the palace. For what? So that's just something to bear in mind, that this so-called secret meeting and the photos were leaked in the Daily Fail, and there is someone in the palace who used to work for the Daily Fail, and of course there's a relationship between the palace and the Rota who work for the Daily Fail. I think it was all just to spin a narrative, possibly to also distract from, William and Kate. They went to Wimbledon, and there was some leaking from William's side that he feels apparently frustrated that their big Wimbledon, moment was overshadowed. I mean, whatever. You show up to sit in the royal box, it's nothing special. So that's my feelings about the so-called royal, secret meeting. Just to touch on Natasha Archer. So it came out that she had been following numerous accounts connected to Meghan, her friends, Meghan herself actually, and as ever, Highbrow Hippie, so Meghan gets her hair done, Delphina, her friend, and many other of Meghan's friends. Wedding dress designer, skincare specialist, her hair colorist. It's also now come out, because you can check this on Instagram, that the Natasha Archer account has had 15 former usernames. 15. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a feature that allows you to see what those names were. That is insane. Why would anyone change their name 15 times? I've been on Insta for years, and I think I've maybe changed my name 3 times. Because in the early days I used a different handle. I think I used like On the Go with AC. It was like a more travel kind of sounding name, and I think I used another one, like Travel with Anne or something like that. But then I decided to use my actual name. So I can understand maybe someone changing their Instagram handle a couple of names to rebrand, but 15 times, you weren't rebranding, you were trying to hide your identity. And the fact that they felt the need to change it 15 times, were they maybe interacting with other squaddy accounts or what? I think one feature that Instagram does have, though, is if you blocked an account and that account tries to follow you again under another account, it will show you the name changes. So it may be there's someone out there who was followed and who there's accounts under other names, they interacted with you. And maybe they were trolling on your page, who knows? Because to change it 15 times, wow. And you were following all of her friends. And look at the branding, very similar to the Archwell Foundation. Now, there is one theory that some people have. By the way, this is Delphina and Abigail, who the Natasha Archer account was following, friends of Meghan, laughing and having a good time. They're probably like, "Oh, girl, she was stalking you too. She was stalking me too. Hilarious." One theory that some people have is that Natasha may have actually done this on purpose. It is very likely that she has signed an NDA and she will never be able to talk about her life, the last 15 years working for the palace. But maybe, just maybe, this is allegedly, it's just a theory. Maybe she did this on purpose as a way of airing some dirty laundry without breaking her NDA. Because there's just no way, unless she is completely incompetent, and given the way she dresses Kate, it could be that. Unless she's completely incompetent, there's no way that she wouldn't know that people would see that she's following all of Meghan's friends and that we wouldn't have something to say about it. There's just no way. She's either quite smart and wanted to expose Kate and the palace for being obsessed with Meghan, or she's utterly incompetent and just didn't think anything would come of this. Now, it's taken a few days, but the Daily Mail are finally actually reporting on it. And I was, looking back at some of Kate's looks. Even Sarah Vine has become the biggest Meghan troll, had something to say about Kate's looks back in the day. Granted, I don't necessarily think the looks are terrible. I think Kate she had her own signature style that the palace came up with for her. It was very, that kind of Mary Poppins cosplay, royal woman chic, I guess you could call it, with the coat dresses. It was her style. I don't necessarily even think it was terrible. It was hers. Maybe a little bit too aging, but it was hers. The issue is when Meghan came in, it clearly changed. And several people have done videos on this, the progression of the style, and you can see just the most obvious examples. So who knows? But I'm glad this all came out. And I'm glad that more people can just see how utterly obsessed these people are with our fave. Now, Wimbledon just happened, and there was a showdown between a squaddy and Camilla Tominey. Camilla the liar Tominey. So this Judy in the Richmond was seated behind Camilla Tominey. And Camilla said she actually did a video on this, defending herself. She said that she heard her name, Camilla, and she turned around and she saw this squaddy fan. So she said, I sat behind Camilla Tominey at Wimbledon. Don't worry, Sussex Squad. I mentioned I was a Harry and Meghan fan, that she blocked me on Twitter for calling her a wanker. Camilla then responded saying, you are rude and obnoxious and annoyed everyone sitting in our area with your drunken screaming and shouting. If anybody at Wimbledon was drunken screaming and shouting, they would have been kicked out. They're even funny about the way that you dress. Try laying off the sauce and showing some self-awareness next time you're in public, you vile troll. People like Camilla Tominey think that there will never be consequences for their actions because they've never had to face any consequences for their actions. She truly believes because she has this role as a so-called royal reporter that she's just really above it all, that she's so goddamn special. She's not. None of them are. This is the lady that wrote this headline, Harry, Meghan and me, my truth as a royal reporter. I covered elections and extremism, but nothing compares to the vitriol I've received since I started writing about the Sussexes. Nothing compares to the vitriol that we have seen levied at Meghan since she entered that unroyal mafia. The bullying that people like Camilla Tominey have been responsible for, and they think that they shouldn't be called out for it. What has been done to Harry and Meghan, more so Meghan, is itself a form of terrorism. Camilla Tominey, like the rest of them, are literal terrorists, masquerading as journalists. So why do you think that you shouldn't be called out for what you do? This was the headline that Camilla Tominey herself wrote. Meghan cookbook mosque linked to 19 terror suspects, including Jihadi John in group's investigation. The women at the Hub Kitchen were bullied and harassed for this. No apologies from Camilla Tominey. No apologies from, I think, is this the Telegraph that she wrote this article in? All while Meghan was trying to help an underserved community who had been left pretty much to fend for themselves. And it's only because of the kindness of strangers that they were able to slowly rebuild their lives, because the government dragged their feet. Meghan came out and did something good. And this was the headline Camilla Tominey thought to write. After people lost their homes, after people were burned alive, Meghan tried to do something good. And this was the headline that Camilla Tominey came out with. And she thinks that she can just walk around in peace and nobody's ever going to check her. Girl, please. Girl, please. Couldn't even handle a little bit of heckling at Wimbledon. The weakness of these people and the strength of Meghan for putting up with what she's put up with for almost 8 years. That's why they don't understand why Meghan survived. because they're so thin-skinned. And then you've got Sarah niggling, feeling, can't get over the fact that she was divorced by Michael Gove Vine, chiming in, saying this is harassment and should not be tolerated. The same Sarah Vine that wrote the headline, I have a niggling feeling about Harry and Meghan's engagement. Shame she didn't have a niggling feeling about her own marriage. Shout out to Michael Gove, going about living your best life. Got him a hot young thing. Salt in Sarah Vine's wound. She never got over her husband leaving her no neck behind. Man's out here living his best life, just like Meghan, and it pains her every single day. Indeed. Sarah Vine, I think, relates to Kate Middleton a lot. And not just because they're both very basic women. Sarah Vine literally fashions herself as a Westminster wag. That's actually her handle on Twitter. Being a Westminster wag is very much part of her identity. She chased that title the same way Kate chased the crown, and both of them ended up miserable. And they have to look at the way Harry treats his wife, left a whole kingdom for her. It must sting. It must. But baby, it's not going to help you by constantly spewing out vitriol. I think in the last week, Sarah Vine has written maybe 2 articles like this. The difference between William and Harry is that Kate one has Kate to soothe his mental anguish, the other has Meghan to rub salt in his wounds. What mental anguish is Sarah Vine talking about? I wasn't aware that William had any mental anguishes to deal with. This is news to me. This is the first time that I'm hearing that that William has mental anguish. What exactly is he anguishing over, Sarah? Would you like to tell us? Because the news and the leaks from William's camp is that William is ready to be king. He won't stop talking about how he's ready to be king while his father is still alive. Now Sarah Vine is telling us that William has mental anguish. Perhaps she'd like to explain to us why he sways like a flag. The Sarah Vines of the world, the Camilla Tominis of the world, they'll get their calm. I mean, I feel like Sarah Vine's already gotten hers. She's going to have to find another MP so she can be a Westminster wag again. Now she's a Westminster divorced wag. Let's get to your comments and then we will continue. Thank you so much, Kevon Slims. You said, why are these people so consumed with being overshadowed? Because it's just so easy to overshadow them. Do you remember when Kate I think she wore a pink dress to one of these garden shows that they had, and it was a whole story about how Kate wore a pink dress and how that overshadowed the king by wearing a pink dress? Jeez. Sharon, you said, I think if Harry goes back, it will be as family members, not only not as working royals. He wants contact with his family, also inviters in the UK. And Charles realized the public expect royal attendance. I think Harry wants to come to a sensible conclusion with his family, but I highly doubt he can ever trust his family again. If he does, I personally think it'll be a mistake. I think his family can't be saved. They're incredibly envious and jealous of him and his wife's success. They are absolutely paranoid about their position being taken from their line of succession. They're obsessed with power. They're obsessed with image. It would be very dangerous for Harry and Meghan to ever go back in any capacity where it comes to them being a family. Oh, Rhonda, sorry, you did respond. I didn't see. The rosé is light and smooth. It's dry, but not incredibly dry. I'm typically a Moscato kind of girl, but it's lovely. I got a chuckle out of being carded at my home for alcohol. Well, great to know that you liked it. Kelly said, if the Sussex fan was shouting, other people would have turned around. Camilla Tominey, forever a liar. Exactly. They don't play about with things like that at Wimbledon. They would have been kicked out. They want to be terrorizers in peace. Yes, Sonia, I have absolutely heard about the story of Harry, Meghan, and the Ducks. I will get to that. Indeed, Renee, they were upset that the cookbook became a bestseller, and they decided to try and find a way of bringing down that success. It didn't work. That book is still selling to this day. DB, then why wasn't not held in secret? It appears they were at a restaurant on an outside balcony. I think the whole point of them having the meeting at an outside balcony restaurant, leaking the images to the Daily Fail, and it was a Daily Fail pap that got the images. I think it was all just part of a wider plan to spin all these stories about reconciliation. I mean, it doesn't even matter to the wider public, to be honest, whether or not this family reconciles. That's really between them. There are other issues pertaining this family that actually do matter to the public, not whether or not they reconcile. Resistors, you said he can never trust the Windsors. He would end up having an accident. Okay, next thing. Yeah, Wimbledon did happen. A lot of people were picking up on the demeanor of the kids. And as I always say, I do not have a problem with these children. These children are completely and utterly innocent. The problem is always with the parents and the institution. And I just want to make it clear that is what my commentary is on. The parents and the institution, not the children who unfortunately are have been born into circumstances where they are, privileged in terms of their social status and the money that they have, and that they're privileged in that sense, but in every other way they are living in a cage, and it's showing on their faces and in their demeanor. I don't think that these kids have like really normal interactions. I mean, they go to a school which is a private school. All of the kids there are all aristos, rich kids. But I do wonder what type of normalcy outside of going to school these children have. And mind you, like I said, it's a school for other very wealthy people who kind of all live in a bubble. A lot of people picked up on the fact that George just, he seemed like he didn't want to be there. He was looking down a lot. He just looked very unhappy. That Charlotte was, she kind of just had this I think Charlotte's kind of become more comfortable kind of putting on that kind of like royal face, which in itself I think is very, very unfortunate, and why I don't agree with royal children doing these kind of appearances, because I don't think that it's the responsibility of children to be puppets for this institution, to create this image for this institution. They should just be children. The more I think about it, the more I actually believe that it's very unethical, because they're literally just performing, and they're performing for strangers. You see other, pictures here. Again, George just looking very unhappy. Louis is not even there. They decided not to bring him this time. This is exactly what Harry did not want for his kids. And I think for Harry's kids, it would have been even worse because they would be used as scapegoats and shields for the Wells children. This institution is not learning at all. Unfortunately for George, he is, meant to be the next king after his father. Now, we'll see where the monarchy is by the time George is of age. Because looking at the way things are now, I don't know if George will ever be king. But it's just so obvious that this institution has not learned and is not learning the lessons from the past. If you look at William is a grown man in his 40s, and the imposter syndrome is just oozing out of his pores because he's been told his whole life that he's going to be king. Now we're in this new age, in this new era. Royalty is going out of fashion. His title and the idea of king is all he really has. And can you imagine the type of internal conflict that would cause for someone? You've been told your whole life you're going to be this, and you'll be given this status because you're going to be this. And this is what he's had drilled into him his entire life. And I think George, they're probably doing the same thing to him. And then to get to the age that he is now, having been coddled his whole entire life, no real sense of identity, and now having to, compete with your younger brother, despair. Maybe one day I'll get a psychologist to come on this show and we can unpack all of that. But it creates dysfunctional adults, and they're repeating the same cycle with these kids. So I don't blame the kids at all. I blame the parents and the institution. They are failing miserably. And I do not believe that royal children should be trotted out like this. Yeah, the children are products of their environment. Sonia, you think Louis is built differently? He will find his way to Montecito. I mean, that's if they don't use him the way back in the day, they used Harry to cover for William's shenanigans. If I'm still doing this podcast when these children, come more of age, teens and young adults, and they're out here acting out and acting wild, I will not be one of the people who's gonna be gossiping about them and feeding into the narrative of the wild young royals, because that's exactly the same thing that they did to Harry. In fact, I'll be the first person to point out that they're repeating the cycle again. And who does that serve other than the tabloids? Mizzy, they're kind of like child actors in a way. Yeah. And Harry said this, that he feels as a royal, growing up as a royal child, it was like this Truman Show existence. Now, obviously, the institution has to do this because they have to create this parasocial relationship between you and the royal children as pretty much as soon as they're born. It starts when they're born with this whole, reveal outside of the royal hospital, and a new heir has been born. So it's all part of creating a parasocial relationship. But us on this side have to also start questioning that. Why the obsession over children? It's because they want to start this parasocial relationship early. So by the time they get to William's age, you've this whole idea of, okay, they're the heir and they're the next king. It's already embedded in you, and like you've grown up or you've seen them grow up. TMCD. George always seems to look sad. Yeah, he does. I rarely see him smile. Even at the Christmas Carol, I didn't see him smile. I mean, okay, the Queen's funeral. Obviously, nobody's going to be smiling there. But just in general, like I don't think I've ever seen him looking just very bright and happy at events like this. In pictures like that are staged with royal photographers, the Herbal Essences advert that they did. But just like moments like this, I mean, you'd think at Wimbledon. I mean, everybody's there to watch the game. Everybody's there to have a good time. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's the looks of living in a gilded cage. Heather, William could resolve a bunch of issues by simply going to work. What work would that be? Avid reader, William might very well be king, but he will continue to lack respect from everyone. He is entirely lacking in every way in comparison to Harry, indeed. Because the institution coddled him because they said, you're going to be king. But Harry is more fit for the role of king for the modern age. The institution did not prepare William for the modern age, and it seems like they're not preparing these kids for the modern age either. In fact, sitting in those carriages and riding past those protesters, which I thought was very cruel, by the way. I think they did that because they thought, oh, maybe the protesters won't boo. But I think them sitting in those carriages and having to see that's probably the closest to reality that, you know, they're ever going to get. As cruel and horrible as that was. Cruel, horrible, and unnecessary as that was. Yeah, Patricia, Diana at least tried to give William and Harry a different kind of life. Kate doesn't know herself. How can she help her children? Indeed. Especially the girl. Charlotte is spare, not Louis. Well, they're both spares, technically. They're both spares. Okay. Okay, how many children are there watching the game? None. That's a good question. I don't see any other children. Okay. Next thing, that's all I wanted to say about that matter. When the British tabloids start hammering down on these kids, you won't see me joining in. Okay, something a little bit more delightful. Yes, Oprah gave us a little bit more behind the scenes of what happened during the Easter break. Now, remember, we all remember because it was adorable, this video of Meghan with the ducks, and she looked really surprised. Well, it turns out that Mama Duck had laid all those chicks at their place, and they have a stream, not a pond. So Harry called up Oprah and said, well, yeah, we have a duck problem. We have a duck problem, rich people, they're just like us. Can we bring our ducks over to your place? Because the duck had laid eggs in Harry and Meghan's yard and had all these chicks. So now we know what was happening in this video. So they said to well, can we bring them around yours? And that Gayle King's grandchildren were visiting, and it would be great for the grandkids to see the ducks. So they go over to Oprah's house, and then Harry opens the door, and the mama duck flies out. Now they've somehow managed to get the babies all in one in this little like cage thing. And they spent half an hour trying to catch the duck. And apparently there's video. Release that video immediately. Immediately. I need to see the video of Harry and Meghan chasing around a duck. Release that video immediately, please. That video is going to get about twice the amount of views as the baby mama dance got. It will truly break the damn internet. What a hilarious antidote from Oprah. Kelly, did the duck family reunite? I haven't actually heard if they managed to catch some other duck. I think they did. Oprah said they spent half an hour trying to get it. So presumably they did. But they do have a pond in Montecito next to their little guest house, but it's probably fed by a stream going through it. Yeah. Yeah, she said, when I saw this, I wondered, why was Meghan watching the ducks? I thought that maybe this was, so this has got to be part of their complex, probably like the driveway. I thought that maybe they had gone for a walk somewhere and they saw this. Adorable. Anyway, that's sweet. Along, what's also sweet, Harry in Angola. Unbossed and unbothered and carrying on with his work. And carrying on the legacy of his mother. Because this was the cause that was very close to Diana's heart. And he also met with the president of Angola. Very nice. Let me just go to the Archwell website. Let's have a look. I'm pretty sure they've written an update about this. On the maybe not on the Archwell website. Maybe it's on the. Actually, maybe it's on the Sussex website. Let's have a look. But yeah, he was there supporting the Halo Trust. He gave a speech. The British media were not allowed. Good. Somebody wrote this on Twitter. They said, the idea of Prince Harry willingly cooperating with the same press he spent years battling in court is inconsistent with his record. The idea he would leak to the same press he's actively trying to hold accountable doesn't make much logical sense. Meanwhile, Harry is expected to give a speech on Tuesday. Though the British press has been denied entry to the event, the outlet had, yes, no entry for you. No entry for you. Because really, why should they be given any access or entry? For what? So they can misrepresent what happens on the ground? They will find any and every excuse to misrepresent Harry and Meghan's work. So why allow them anywhere close? Okay. I can't seem to find. That's annoying. Can't seem to find where the latest. Well, let me check on. Let me check on Rebecca's site. Maybe she has something. Okay, I don't think Rebecca has. I just wanted to, I saw an article that was talking about Harry's visit, and I wanted to read a little bit more on it, but I can't seem to find it now. But yeah, that's fine. He was there in Angola supporting the Halo Trust. We know that this is the charity that works to eliminate landmines, and Diana famously, walked through that area where they had cleared landmines, and they continue to do that work. It's very, very painstaking work. I when I visited Cambodia, I actually met the people that train landmine rats that help to identify where the mines are. It's very painstaking work. It's very dangerous work. And you just obviously, I think the technology has gotten better. It's easier to find these mines now, but it's still very dangerous work. And sometimes you just never really know. You can have a a mine that just it's still there, it's active, it just hasn't gone off yet. And there are children who are living today who have been affected by this, had limbs blown off. So it's still very, very important work. And it's just a shame because I was looking at this and I was thinking of what happened with Santa Bale, and and we haven't heard any updates of what's going on with the the staff and the people, the children who benefit from those services. But to know that they are missing out on the impact that Harry's work does, all because of a very selfish person. But what can you do? Good on Harry for continuing the work of his mother and being consistent with a cause that is close to his heart. And he did indeed actually walk through the mine area again. Okay. On to Meghan's rosé wine, which got top reviews from wine experts, which is great. The problem is, as somebody pointed out on Instagram, I'm so glad somebody actually wrote this, because when I saw this, I was like, okay, that's great. They're being fair. They actually bothered to taste Meghan's wine and all the other celebrities' wines, and they gave it a fair review, and it actually won a blind taste test amongst other celebrity wines, including John and Jesse Bon Jovi's, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's wine, Cameron Diaz's wine, Sarah Jessica Parker's wine. It actually won the taste test. The problem is, I think this expectation of excellence. And somebody wrote, as much as ever rosé performed well in this blind taste test, this reminds us of a recurring pattern in how Black excellence is often met with scrutiny, where validation is made conditional on passing unspoken or suddenly formalized tests. It kind of reminds you of the whole idea of protocol, doesn't it? With the royals. All of these white celebrities had wines on the market for years, but none triggered a formal blind test by the New York Post. But because it's Meghan and suddenly there is a need to objectively test. Meghan didn't just have to make wine like these other white celebrities, she had to make the best wine. And they've admitted that it was out of all of them, but they never did this for all of the others. Why is that? Anyway, if anything, it just shows that Meghan really is taking her time to make great products, but it's just the fact that a woman like Meghan, everything always has to be perfection and tip top in comparison to everybody else. TMCD said, I was thinking that also regarding the taste test. Kelly Jen, you said, I wish they wouldn't put Meghan in such an awkward position. Other celebrities want their products to sell too. So you said Meghan's wine was the winner. I can't wait to get it. I can't wait until she can sell it here. Can't wait to try it. Okay, next thing. Gosh, quite a few things because I have been away for a few days. Oh, also a nice little thing that happened. Shonda Rhimes did a Instagram story shouting out Meghan. She said, I've made all these sitcoms, but I'd rather be playing Meghan Markle. They're in her, I think that's her chicken coop. She's got chickens, so does Meghan. And Meghan actually posted on Shonda Rhimes' Instagram saying, I see you, Shonda, come play anytime. Lovely. Somebody responded by saying, Madam Duchess and Miss Rhymes, I would love to see you two on a TV project together. The chickens and flower sprinkles can make a special appearance. Well, Shondaland, this universe that she's built of incredible sitcoms with incredible complex characters and storylines, and what Meghan is doing with Netflix, it's a match made in heaven. So I would love to see them doing something together. 100% amen to that. Let's see it happen. Doesn't necessarily have to be Meghan featuring in it, but just those two minds together creating something. Let's see it. Yeah, resistors, they were shocked that they like Meghan's wine since they were ready to hate it. Indeed. And how pathetic is that? So that's sweet. Hopefully something from Meghan and Shonda Rhimes. All right, on to this so-called leaked plan for Charles's funeral. So Buckingham Palace's top aides are in a tailspin after leaked plans for the death of King Charles made it into the media, sparking a huge censorship operation to contain the spill. The leak to the Daily Telegraph revealed details, including how Harry and his wife Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, would be central to the current British monarch's funeral, something officials are actively planning as he battles cancer. I will take anything about Harry and Meghan's involvement, even anything claimed to be a leak, with a pinch of salt, because we know that the British tabloids would love that. And we don't know for sure. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm sure Harry will come, but Meghan, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think she needs to come, to be honest. Even for optics. Forget that. It comes despite the public fracturing of the king's relationship with his younger son, who has also been at loggerheads with his brother. Prince William will have become king by the time of Charles's funeral. Plans for the funeral, codenamed London Bridge, are the most sensitive of royal secrets, meticulously planned by courtiers and ultimately overseen by the king himself. When the Telegraph published the revelations on its front page with the headline, Prince Harry and Meghan at heart of King's funeral plans, it was the first insight British papers had given their readers into the event of world significance. And that is why I would take it with a pinch of salt. Because this would be Charles's death and funeral, but Harry and Meghan are the headline. They do this every single darn time. Charles's entire funeral, William's entire coronation will be about Harry and Meghan. Ridiculous. Anyway, these were the texts that leaked. Let's have a read of this. As we head into the weekend, a gentle advisory in operational background only and not for reporting in any form. As some of you may become aware, a publication has this evening published supposed details of His Majesty the King's bridge plan. While we won't be drawn on the details or accuracy of the claims, the bridge's plans are not yet finalized, and there is no active planning underway outside of the entirely routine business you will be familiar takes place for the royal family members. Can we therefore remind all media that speculation about the demise planning is deeply distasteful in normal circumstances? Oh, but William won't stop telling us about how he's going to handle things when he's king. He doesn't find that distasteful, all of that leaking, but downright offensive given that His Majesty the King is living with cancer, continuing with treatment, and doing extremely well on it, as you will all have seen from past weeks and months. This sort of article is therefore unconscionable, no matter how sensitively framed. It is also a breach of the clear understanding that in order for us to be able to assist media with operational planning, royal reporters do not write speculative pieces about British planning, whatever the source. Oh, but they can write speculative pieces about everything else. They can write speculative lies about Harry and Meghan. On that basis, please make your desks and editors aware that those publications, networks, outlets that follow this story or carry such reports of their own are unlikely to receive assistance on British briefings. So basically, they're saying if you don't do things by our rules, when London Bridge finally does come tumbling down, you're not getting access. Regardless of the platform, it appears on all the byline on the article. This helps us work with trusted partners in a spirit of mutual support and openness. Thank you for your understanding and hopefully sensitivity. Oh, and P.S. But it's all over Twitter, clickbait.com, etc. is not the excuse or justification some may hope. Oh, the same people who are allegedly hiring bot farms to trash Harry and Meghan. Twitter clickbait isn't an excuse or justification to be writing these stories. These people are ridiculous. Cookies and cream. Nice to see you. You said it's ridiculous how all of Meghan's products have been tested, as well as some of the recipes on her cooking show. Indeed. Kelly Jen, I wonder if Meghan would have a non-alcoholic version. I did say that she should. It would be a bestseller. Non-alcoholic alcohol is becoming a huge thing. Millennials and Gen Z are drinking less. So it would be a hit, I think. Tom Holland, the future Mr. Zendaya, he has a non-alcoholic beer brand. Lottie, so they're planning Charles's funeral already. Well, they always they've got plans in place at all times for all of the royals, all of them, and they get updated regularly. But and that's why actually it's very interesting that they're panicking like this, because if you already have a routine plan and you already know how things are going to go, why are you panicking like we're about to go into Operation London Bridge next week? Like the fact that they gave this whole brief is quite telling. You know, a publication has this evening published supposed details of the bridge plan. Well, don't you always have a bridge plan? And don't you have them for all of the royals? So even if it was leaked, why are you panicking? Because it's not like you're going to trigger the plan anytime soon, are you? By the way, just remember how they behaved when the Queen died, right? So what was the first thing that happened in the morning? All the families start heading up to Balmoral. Now remember this. By the time we got to about midday, they were all up there. And then somewhere just after midday, all of the news channels, Sky News, BBC, all of the coloring, the branding had all gone black. And then I think maybe around, God, I can't remember the exact time. Maybe around 2 or 3, the guy on the BBC had a black suit. I think it was Hugh Edwards. Oh yeah, that perv had on the black suit. And then somewhere maybe around 1 or 2, there was that note being passed around Parliament. And then didn't the Prime Minister write something. She didn't say that the Queen had died, but she wrote this very ominous message online. And then I actually got a text from someone about 2:00 whose their friend worked in the police, and they said, yeah, Operation London Bridge is fully underway. And then at, what was it, about 6, we had the official announcement. So just remember that timeline and remember what happened. If it happens again, then you know for sure. If you see the family scrambling to go up to Balmoral, then you know. I'll start the podcast live that day, whenever that starts. I mean, William's planning for that day, shouldn't we? It is just the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing to be rubbing your hands together for your family member's death. The weirdest thing. Like, this is not a family. It is 100% a cult. Sonia, all they want to see is Meghan curtsy to Kate. I mean, you know what? If Meghan curtsies to Kate, and what? And what? Kate's not going to grow a backbone just because Meghan curtsied to her. Kate's not going to grow a personality just because Meghan curtsied to her. And I'll tell you something. If Meghan ever had to curtsy to Kate, Kate's going to still be looking at Meghan and see a woman that she could never be. She could look Meghan straight in the eye while Meghan is curtsying to her, and that lady is going to feel empty because it will mean nothing. It doesn't mean anything if Meghan curtsies to Kate. Nothing. Meghan's still 10 times the woman that she'll ever be. So let that happen. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. Let's get that clear. And Harry to bow to William, and those would be the pictures used for the day. And exactly the same thing. If Harry has to bow to William, it means nothing. Because Harry has what William wants in the end. William may take the crown, but he doesn't have the hearts of the people. He doesn't have the popularity. So what is someone bowing or curtsying to you when you have to look them in the eye? And the one that is bowing to you, the one you see as lesser than you, is still what you want to be. What does it mean? It means nothing. Okay. Was there anything else that I wanted to mention? Whew. Today's been, oh gosh, over an hour. I think this is the longest podcast I've done in a while. No, I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to mention. I got to go to work tomorrow, so yeah, time to go to bed. Thank you as always, everyone. Thank you for being patient with me. Do you know what? I honestly really do wish that I could do a podcast every single day, but it's trying to balance work and podcast and writing. It's exhausting. I'm not going to lie, but I will do my best to show up when I can. Just a reminder that if you would like to become a member, you can do so through YouTube, but preferably through Buy Me a Coffee. Helps a lot more. Just donations in general through Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal is better than through YouTube, because YouTube takes such a big percentage of creators' money. But I appreciate you all as always. Thank you to everybody that is currently a member, both on YouTube and on Buy Me a Coffee. Helps out a lot. And yeah, I will end it there. Oh yeah, I think Baron actually has a podcast. So yeah, you can all go and continue the party over at Baron. Love y'all. See you later.